Hey, it's Rick Kettner here. Let's talk about how to build a simple marketing website to test a business idea. This is step number 1 of 3 as covered in my last video on how to test business ideas. You can find links to that up in the information box, up in the top right corner of this video, or down in the description box below. I definitely recommend that you check that video out just to get an overall sense of how this 3-step process works. And if you're interested in learning more about how to build and grow your business, I recommend that you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on future videos. But let's get into it. The goal of this video is to bring your business idea to life using a simple website so that you can actually gather early reactions, you can improve and iterate the product or service idea itself, and of course, you can improve your ability to communicate the idea using a website. Now, one thing I want to be totally clear on here, and I mentioned this in the last video, this isn't about creating a website to document the process or the idea of building your product or service. It's not a Kickstarter campaign, nothing like that. The goal here is to build a website that promotes the product or service as if it's 100% real and it already exists, as if it's something that customers could potentially buy right now. And I'll mention further down later in the video exactly how you can address the fact that your product or service probably does not yet exist and that you probably are not yet in a position to accept payment or accept orders or anything like that. So we will deal with that, but the idea here is we're starting with a website so that we can gather early reactions, we can improve and iterate the idea itself based on those reactions, and we can improve the website and our whole approach to marketing the product or service all at the same time. So that is the idea here. And don't worry about code. Don't worry about HTML. Don't worry about anything like that. You can use simple tools like Wix, Squarespace. You can even use tools like WordPress if you can find a great theme where you can easily edit it online. You really just want to find any kind of online tool where you can visually edit and adjust and modify the text, the imagery, and that sort of thing on your website without ever having to look at code. So don't worry about anything like that. What I'm going to focus on in this video, more than anything, are the 3 most important aspects of the website that you must include if you want to create an effective, simple marketing website. So there are many different approaches. You can choose one of any different template out there in terms of what you want to describe about your product, how you want to lay it out. But these 3 components are things that you absolutely must include to really make this whole testing your business idea process work. So the 3 components are, number 1, a descriptive headline. Number 2, engaging imagery. And finally, number 3, a clear call to action. So I'm going to show you a few different websites that use these elements so you can see exactly how this comes together in practice. And I'll focus on sharing tips for each of these elements because you're probably thinking right now, imagery, I don't have any pictures of my product. I don't have any screenshots of my service yet. It's still just an idea in my head. Well, we're going to address that and talk about what you can do when it comes to creating your headline, finding relevant imagery, and of course, addressing your call to action. So let's quickly take a look at a few websites. Here I've got Shopify pulled up. Right here in the top left corner, we've got their headline. The reason why a headline is so critically important on a simple marketing website like this is often it is literally the only text that the average visitor to your website will ever read. This is interesting because when we analyze our own behavior, when we visit the average website, most people are aware that they do not read a lot of text. They might read the headline, they might scroll down and glance at a sub-headline like this. They might look at these icons, maybe one will jump out to them, they scroll down, maybe they read one more block of text here, but very few people are reading subtext like this or really exhaustively going through the page. And what's interesting is, like I say, that's what we do as consumers. When we go to build our website, we tend to obsess about every last piece of text. We make the assumption that the average visitor is going to read everything and that they're going to have a complete picture of what it is that we're offering. But the reality is, the headline up here at the top is really the only text on the page that you can reliably assume that the overwhelming majority of people will read. So this, in many cases, is your one and only opportunity to convey what it is that you're offering and to make it totally clear so that when people visit your website, they get it, they understand what it is you're offering, and they can make a yes or no decision. And as I mentioned in the last video, what you want when somebody visits your website is that they either decide, yes, this is for me, or no, this isn't for me. What you don't want is them to fall down the middle and default to no because they don't get it, or they don't understand it, or they don't really understand why they should be interested in it. So your headline is your number one opportunity to communicate exactly what it is that you offer. You want to focus on using plain language. You don't want to be technical. You don't want to get too creative. I'll show you a quick example of a site here that you may be tempted to emulate. Here is Apple's website. And so here it says the best for the brightest, which isn't very descriptive at all. So a lot of people will look at a site like this and think, I need to be creative on my own website. The problem is Apple is a massive and highly successful company. Most people that land on this page already know that Apple makes phones, they make computers, they make tablets, things like that. So Apple can get away with breaking the rules because they're well established. But if you try to emulate them, you really shoot yourself in the foot, because at the end of the day, when somebody's interacting with a brand new brand for the first time, your headline may be the one and only opportunity you really have to communicate your idea. So you don't want to get creative, you don't want to get technical, you don't want to waste any time and energy. You want to focus entirely on communicating exactly what it is that you offer. So let's look at a couple other websites here. Here is Asana. So their headline up here at the top, keep your team coordinated wherever you are. They're describing the benefit of their service. And there's really two different approaches you can take with a headline. You can describe the product and exactly what it does or the category that it's in. So for example, if you're selling online video guitar lessons, you could literally just say, online video guitar lessons. That could be your entire headline. Or you can describe the benefit, something like learn how to play the guitar. So Asana's taken that second approach, as has Shopify. Build an online business, right? That's the benefit. You can build an online business. And let's jump over to another example. Here is brain.fm. This is probably one of my favorite examples because they're building purely a single page website. And this is what you want to build. You don't want to have a navigation bar. You simply want to have a single page website. Keep it very simple. So, well, Shopify here does have a navigation bar here across the top. If you find a template that you love, you can simply remove the navigation bar if it's there and you don't want to have it. Here's Asana again. You can remove the navigation bar if you were to use a design like this. But let's pop back to brain.fm. Here's their headline: functional music to improve focus in 15 minutes. Very straightforward. You know exactly what it is that they're offering, and you can quickly make a decision on whether or not you want to learn more and decide if this product or service is for you. So just to be clear, the headline isn't going to be the ultimate sales pitch. You're not trying to sell your idea. You're just trying to let them know what it is so that they can decide whether or not it's worth moving down the page and learning anything more about the product or service. Okay, component number 2. Relevant imagery or engaging imagery. The idea here is you want to have simple imagery that ties in with the headline and communicates more effectively what it is that you're offering. So if we jump back to Shopify, interesting thing you'll notice here, you don't actually see anything about the Shopify backend interface, the interface that you might use when actually building out your online business. All they show here is a simple image of a woman working at her computer, presumably building out her online Shopify web store. And they do include a little screenshot here as well. But what's interesting about the image itself is they could actually get away with just that photo in the background, which doesn't show anything about Shopify's interface. It could be generic stock photography. So there are a few different approaches that you can take to finding images. You can go to a site like unsplash.com, which has a huge library of free stock images. You can, of course, go to any actual pay stock imagery library like iStock Photo or many of the other ones out there. You can go to Google Image Search to find a temporary placeholder, although you do have to worry about potential copyright issues if you want to end up using that image long term. So if you're just building out this early website, you can use Google Image Search, but just be aware that you might run into some copyright issues there. And then last but not least, if we pop over to brain.fm, here they've gone with an illustrated design. So if you've got a product idea and you don't yet have a physical prototype, but you really want to show the idea in a more visual way, then you can go that route. You can sketch something out quickly. You can go to an online service like Fiverr and have a professional illustrator either create a static or an animated image to represent whatever it is that you're trying to sell. The one caution I would offer you here is I would prefer to stick with stock imagery because especially in step number 2 of this process, you're going to be revising and improving your messaging to make sure that it captures people's attention right away. And if you're overly invested in any one image because you've spent anywhere from $20 to $100 on Fiverr to get something custom built, then you might not be as inclined to test other images or to test moving in another direction, which oftentimes can prove rewarding. So you don't want to overly invest in any one image, but that is one path that you can go down if it's appropriate for whatever product or service you're offering. So as you can see in all 3 of these examples, very simple imagery. Here, let's move to Asana. They've shown theirs just here at the very edge of the fold. So when the site first loads up, it's right down here at the bottom, barely visible. That encourages you to actually scroll down, check it out. And they've got an animated version of their interface, which of course, even if you're building an online product or service and it's not yet built, you can probably work with a designer early in the process to mock something up that you could go that route too if you prefer. But if you're building an online service, a mobile app, anything like that, you can get away with just simple stock imagery of somebody holding their phone or using their laptop or smiling as they sit back at their desk. There are a lot of different approaches you can use. You don't actually ever have to show the product itself. You can just show customers that either are looking like they're intending to use the product or are happy after presumably using the product. So there are a lot of different directions you can go down. You don't actually have to have, original photography tied to your product or service or anything like that. Let's move on to the third element, which is a clear call to action. Now, this might be the simplest thing to include, but it's also the most important thing to include. So let's jump back over to Shopify. Their call to action here is up in the top right corner. Start free trial. They also mention it right here below the headline. And very typical, at the very bottom of the page here, they've got it listed again with kind of a final message encouraging you to join their service. So let's jump over to Asana. Very same idea here. Top right corner, right below the headline, or here in the hero section as it's often referred to. And then again, at the very bottom of the page, the button here as well. And we'll move over to brain.fm, probably my favorite again because it's so simple. If you look at this design, very little going on, and they've just got their headline, they've got a little bit of a sub-headline, their call to action in the same exact places, and again here at the very bottom. Now, of course, you can add other elements to the website in terms of making it more visually appealing. You don't literally just want to have those three elements. If you're going to add more, and you don't want to add a bunch of text because, again, most people do not read a lot of text, the kinds of things you can do are this kind of layout right here, where you might have an image on the right or on the left in this case, and text on the right, and you can alternate. And what often people do, like here on the Asana page, you can swap back and forth between text on the left, text on the right, and a background color change to make it really easy to showcase a few core features, some of the most important ideas behind your product or service. But just keep in the back of your mind that most people will never make it beyond whatever is displayed above the fold or in the first frame that they see when they first load up the website. So you really want to focus upwards of 80 or 90% of your time and energy on your headline, any potential sub-headline if you want to go that route, and then your relevant imagery, and of course your call to action. Relatively easy part, but you want to make sure that's included as well. So those are the three things you want to focus on. And in terms of how the call to action works, number one, you want to have very common text, something along the lines of buy now, sign up, register, join, learn more, or in this case, try for free or sign up for a trial, anything like that. But when somebody clicks on this, because obviously your product or service is not yet ready, so the way that you address that is you simply take them to a second page that might have your logo centered at the top. Below that, you can just simply say, sorry, the product or service is not currently available. You don't have to get any more creative than that. Just a very simple, polite message to let them know that the product or service is not currently available. If you want to go the extra mile, you can also include a simple form that allows them to enter their email address and a button that lets them join a notification list so that they can be notified when the product or service is available. But the reason why this is not super important is because the primary purpose of a simple marketing website like this early on is to, number one, bring your idea to life, to test it with early family and friends, and then to test and improve it for real potential customers to gather feedback. So you're going to be tracking things like how many people visit the site, how long do they spend on the site, how many of them click your call to action button to demonstrate interest. But at this early stage, you're not super concerned about capturing that contact information because, to be honest, at this very early stage, you shouldn't expect a huge number of people to be ready to pull out their credit card and place an order, especially when they're coming across your brand for the very first time. So the primary goal here is just to communicate your idea effectively, iterate and improve your product or service based on early feedback, and really just bring your idea to life. So that's what we're focused on here. Now, in the next video, we'll talk about how to gather early reactions from friends and family, how to actually make sure you're getting honest, genuine reactions that you can actually use to improve the way that you talk about and describe your product or service. And of course, we're going to address the fact that most people especially if they know you well and they have a relationship with you, are going to tend to provide blind encouragement or blind support for whatever you're doing. And of course, that isn't very helpful. So we'll address that, and we'll talk about exactly how to conduct very simple, casual, one-on-one interviews with people to get their reactions and get a sense for how you can not only improve the product or service, but also the way that you communicate about it. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, if you got anything out of it, please click the like button down below to let me know. It also helps promote this video out to more people here on the YouTube platform. And of course, if you're interested in learning more about how to build and grow your business, and you want to make sure you don't miss out on the rest of the videos in this series, I recommend that you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss out on the next upcoming videos. And of course, if you have any questions or comments about this approach or about how to actually build a website like this, don't hesitate to leave them down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.